Let's turn to the Fox News Sunday host, Chris Wallace, who's live from our Washington newsroom. Chris, there's clearly a management issue there. Is there a plan?
Who knows? You were saying earlier that we haven't heard today from Scaramucci or Preibus. We haven't heard from the president either, who is the man in charge of all of these various factions inside his own White House. You wouldn't expect him necessarily to go on the record himself, but he certainly could through one of his spokesmen. And he hasn't said anything about it. And it's very curious. Now, maybe he wants to just let things lay the way they are. But this is a kind of open warfare. You know, I've been in this town a long time. I'm not naive. You do hear about factions inside White House. You do hear about power struggles, sometimes tough power struggles, but nothing this vile, this vulgar, and certainly not this open.
Yeah, it's the public part of it that's a bit disconcerting. And you wonder, is there a winning side? If you're to believe what the New York Times wrote today, that the president was happy with Scaramucci's tough talk, does that mean that Preibus and Bannon are on shaky ground, or does Scaramucci take a fall for this? It just feels like one of those times. It's very Game of Thrones. It feels like something has to give.
Well, yes, but not necessarily. I mean, look, a week ago we could have been talking about Jeff Sessions, and you couldn't possibly imagine that Jeff Sessions a week later would still be the Attorney General after the public lashing that the president was delivering to him. And guess what? Here we are a week later. Jeff Sessions is still the chief law enforcement officer of the country. Throughout this time, this presidency, Donald Trump has sometimes blown hot and blown cold about various people. Preibus has been up, he's been down. Bannon was very up. Then he had that fatal mistake where he was on the cover of Time magazine. You don't want to steal the spotlight from the boss. And he was out of favor for a while. And now Bannon seems to be in okay shape. So who's to say? And oftentimes, yes, you think you're in a position where, as you said, something has to give. And in a normal organization, a normal White House especially, that would be true. Not necessarily in this White House.
Are they getting anything done?
Well, certainly they're getting some things done, particularly on deregulation, some executive orders, but precious little on legislation. And we've seen two major defeats for the president this week. I mean, the biggest one we know about, of course, is health care, which you spent the first part of the show talking about, coming down to a stinging defeat in the middle of the night. But also you had the Russian sanctions bill, which the president made clear he didn't want to see passed, not only imposing tougher sanctions on Russia, but also limiting the president's ability to lift them. You know, that's a real setback for any president, and yet that passed overwhelmingly. And now the president has to decide, is he going to veto it? And if he does, it'll probably be overridden, or does he sign something that he doesn't like?